Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. Please remember, folks, as I start the show, I started the exact same way. Folks, get out there and share this program. Get out there and share this program, because you know what? Absent sharing, Facebook does not do much with one's program. And this is an important program, not only on politics, but on your well-being. Let me tell you, folks, it's not just about politics anymore. A lot of people sit back and think, oh, this is all about politics. It doesn't affect me. I do not like politics. I am not going to watch this. I want to go listen to some music. I want to go listen to something like a reality TV. Hey, with the kind of politics we have today, it is almost reality TV on a daily basis. But folks, these are important times. And you know what? We are going to have to start taking responsibilities for the actions that we take. The interesting thing about it, folks, is that very few times do we always understand what those actions are. Very few times do we actually understand the impact that we as individuals can actually have on our body politic, on our own social well-being, and on our own financial well-being. But it is us as a collective, how we act, what we do, that determines if we are going to have a successful country, that determines if we are going to be able to be successful on our own or not. The thing about it today is most people, we have learned from our plutocracy, we have learned from this corporate structure how to be selfish. We've learned that it is me first. We have learned that, well, you know what I have to do? I have to make sure I am all right first. When I determine that I'm all right first, then everything is okay. What folks fail to realize is that you may be all right first in the beginning. You may be all right first starting off. You may see those ducats running in. But you know what, folks? In the long run, if we all don't, meaning folks in the middle class and the poor, if we all don't get together and do what we have to do and do what we must to make sure this society executes the way it should, the way a just society is supposed to execute, ultimately, you are gotten as well. So for all, I have a message for my fellow neighbors and my fellow associates. All of us at one time were all corporatists. We worked for the corporation, and we always thought, you know what? You get out of college, you go to a corporation, you get a job, you work for a while, and everything is okay, and you're flushed with cash just enough. But no, little did we realize the effect that we were being the wards. Little did we realize that ultimately we were the benevolent slaves. Little did we realize we were in the slavery days, what they call the black person in the house. We were nothing more than the house niggas. Bad word. I should have said the N-word. No. And by the way, I don't care who the host was. I would have liked the host, given the context of what I was trying to say, to have said that word as well. White, black, blue, indifferent, or otherwise. Everybody should have the right to say something. No, I'm going to get a lot of hits from a whole lot of folks from saying that. But if one person can use it in a context, everybody can. Now, let me tell you something, folks. So, yeah. The structure has created that thing. You know, it was interesting because I want to pull it up here on Facebook. Last show that I did, we were talking about not only plutocracy but capitalism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one of I posted something on Facebook that I'm trying to bring up right now as I speak. So bear with me one quick second. And I said in there, and I got some good responses from it, both on Facebook, but specifically, you know, when you start talking about capitalism and so forth, everybody don't want to have their names on the thing, especially if they currently work for corporate America. They don't want necessarily to come out against corporate America as they work for them. But I said on that thing, the genius The genius of the corporate structure is the dependency it creates via the semblance of financial security at the expense of an inconspicuous loss of personal innovation and true independence, given the whims of the controllers of capital, the plutocracy. The involvement of this structure has been the biggest detriment to progress because its controlling tentacles are so well disguised as it engulfs every aspect of our lives, politically, economically, and socially. What I call antiseptic slavery. Antiseptic slavery. And there I put, I am curious to your response. And I got a few responses, about 10 or actually 8 responses on that. Go to my page and take a look at that. But it was interesting because I didn't the article that I wrote for Daily Kos, the article is still under quarantine, so you can't see it at my site, but you can see it at dailycoast.com on the front page. The article that I wrote there is going to be the blog of the week for today. And interesting enough, I got into Starbucks to start writing the show today, and what do I get? I get a text message from a former congresswoman, and she said, "Wow, I read your piece on Daily Kos, and that piece, I loved the piece, but what I even loved was the interaction that you had with the audience. In other words, with audience interaction with the article." She found that, she said something that I know all the time, and that is, I have one of the best audiences, bar none, because I have a very intelligent base. And I don't want to say that in a condescending manner when I say I have an intelligent base, but the people that follow me in detail, these are folks that are out there and they understand the concepts that we're talking about. Folks, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and spread this show right away. That is the way we get Facebook to ensure that it spreads throughout the blogosphere, throughout Facebook, throughout social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need to do that because the algorithm keeps changing. They changed it again. So that is what we're asking for. And so anyhow, today's blog, what's today's show about? Today's show is going to be, the title of today's show is America's Economic System is an Inhumane Fraud That Needs Addressing. And I know those words sound kind of harsh, right? An inhumane fraud that needs to be addressed. But it's something that, again, if we don't understand, and like I said, that 10% of the folks, that 10% top of the country, or I should say, the 10% minus the 1% way up top, they are in many times a detriment to the society and folks that are my friends and myself. You know, for a long time, I was a part of that group working, owning my own business and doing that sort of stuff. And the problem is that you get so comfortable in that space that you don't see you can't see the big picture as far as what your contribution really needs to be. Now, if you're going to stay with corporate America, as long as you're going to make sure that the movement to ultimately fix the country is successful, then that is okay. But if you're not going to do that, well, you know what I think about that for all of those who follow me. Now, here's the deal. The subtitle of the show, the title is America's Economic System is an Inhumane Fraud That Needs Addressing. And the subtitle is We All Go Around the Wonders of America as if its economic system continued. We all go around the wonders of America as its economic system continues to lay waste to millions of Americans. Who will save them? You know who's going to save them? We are going to save them. They plus us is savior. That's what it's all about. They plus us is savior. As we unite Appalachia, the ghettos, and the barrios, that is how we're going to save America. But first, we have to do it. We have to get around the Trump thing and start to figure out who the real enemies of progress are. And when we figure out who the real enemies, and if you listen to the show often, you know I tell you who the enemies of progress are. And once you figure that out, then we can solve the problem. But anyhow, so here it is. As Trump and his cabal continues to tout the success of the current state of the economy, every American should get introspective. Ask yourself not only how well you are doing today, more importantly, attempt to extend your prognostication a few years forward by extrapolating healthcare costs, potential wage increases based on past history, and the education of your kids or your own re-education, or the structures within the economy that ensures a successful career or retirement retirement, or you are in for a rude awakening. Whoever you are in for a rude awakening when it is time to determine if this so-called great economy is also working for you. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember to go ahead and share this program, Politics Done Right. Share this program on your Facebook wall, on your Facebook page, on your Twitter, Tumblr, everywhere, because that is how we're going to get penetration, to educate folks as to how we can really make a difference in society, because folks, we surely need to do so right now. So beforehand, I have a local piece of news here for those of us that are listening in the Houston area on Blog Talk Radio and elsewhere. Blog Talk Radio, Facebook, and Coffee Party Network. Let's remember this, folks. Kinder Morgan takeover of the Houston Independent School District Public Schools. They paid a few dollars for a name of a school that cost several millions. They put a few million in, very small amount, small percentage. Now they get the school on their name, and they push the message of the corporate structure, as if the corporate structure really cares about paying for education. They do care about education. They want others to educate people so that those educated people can work for the corporation. They don't want to pay for those educated people in America, so what they do is they import people. In other words, they use the tax services of these other countries who educate their people to bring them into our corporate structure at the expense of many Americans. And for those who are chosen, to be a part of the corporate structure from America, they lead them to believe that in fact, that is something that is across the board. Folks, we have to educate ourselves to the reality of what is happening in this country. You know, for those people who missed the point, the pitchforks are coming. The pitchforks, ultimately, if Politics Done Right, if TYT, if the Majority Report and all these liberal shows that are trying to make change into people's minds so that they can effect it in politics, if we are unsuccessful, for all those that think it's okay now, the pitchforks are coming. So you should pray for us. Pray. And when I say pray, I'm a humanist, so you know what I think about that. But hope, expect, invest that we are successful in keeping the pitchforks from those who have been the wards to the plutocracy, for those who have been doing the work of the plutocracy. Because you know what, folks? A lot of them can't see what's happening behind those gated communities. A lot of them can't see past that in the manicured communities. And I tell you, I do live in a manicured community, but you know what? I get out of my community to see what's happening. I talk to people to see what's happening. You know why, folks? You know why I gave up my software company that made quite a bit of money, my dear folks? Because I figured it had to be somebody. It had to be somebody. Many of us did it. We could see both sides of the equation. We know how money is made, and we know how money is not made, and we know those who have suffered attempting to get where many of us were. We understand that. And those of us who have a heart, those of us who believe that the system is corrupt, those of us who know that this system needs eradication, we know what we have to do. And what we have to do is exactly what I'm doing. And there needs to be a whole lot more politics done right out there. And that is what I intend to do, my dear folks. Politics done right is just the start of this type of education. It is just the start. But we, as long as we can keep net neutrality, folks, I can tell you, my brothers and sisters, we are going to make a difference. For those who want to come along for the ride, come on, because we are going to get it done. For those who decide that they want to remain in the plutocracy, so be it. Let me tell you something, my dear friends. It is time approaching. I can't tell you it's a year. I can't tell you it's 2 years. I can't tell you it's 5 years. But I'm from a part of the world where knows when enough people get in pain, in hurt, what happens. I know what happens. But folks, I want to read something from Martin Luther King. Maybe I can get to that before I get to the blog of the week, but I really want to read something from Martin Luther King because it is so important. I'm bringing it up on the phone. I hope that it got downloaded. I don't know if it got downloaded yet, but let me tell you what's important in this statement that Brother Martin Luther King. And for those of us who know me, I am not really a superb fan of Martin Luther King. I think turning the other cheek at the time that they turned the other cheek was not necessarily the preferable way to get one's respect, but that was a chosen method, and excellent. Let's go for it. That's what worked then. To some extent, it has been failing so far. So for this that I'm going to read, replace upper middle class corporate complicit with white citizens, and replace the word Negroes with poor and middle class. This is Dr. King's statement. Remember what I said. Replace white moderate with replace white moderate with upper middle class corporate complicit, and Negroes with poor and middle class. And this is what Martin Luther King said. And folks, this is very telling and important. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the White Citizens Council, ex-Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devout to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace which is absent of tension to a positive peace which is a presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feel he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient time. You can replace those words with the Negroes with middle class and poor today. The plutocracy and the plutocracy and the wards of the plutocracy. The wards of the plutocracy mean those people who are working right there with them, getting paid enough money to keep them wanting the money, but not enough to be a part of them. They are the white moderates that we talk about. And that white is just a term. You know, folks, I believe a race and all that crap is nothing more than a social construct. That is the words that was used by Martin Luther King. The words that we change is the one that I said to change, and change those words. And you see what's happening, why the middle class and the poor has a problem, because the wards of the plutocracy are holding those doors so that they cannot get in and say, to hell with the plutocracy, we rule. The people rule. That is it. And when we get there, and that is what we're doing, my friends, when we get there, that is when it changes. Share this program. If you're on Facebook Live, my friends, if you're on Blog Talk Radio, tweet it. Go ahead and let folks know that we have a learning program here, because I have a whole lot more to talk about. But my dear friends, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
This is an important blog post. It goes into economics a little bit, but enough for all of us to understand. Many folks, whenever they hear economics, they run. I don't understand those things. Folks, the reason you don't understand economics is not because economics is hard, it's because economics is corrupt. Economics is very easy. You buy something, you pay something, and you get something in return. That's economics. There's nothing more complex about economics but the exchange of something for another. Nothing more complex about economics. We create stocks, we create collars, we create shorts, we create longs, we create short selling, and all those things, not to help us exchange food or exchange products. We create those things so that people can make money on money. In other words, people can make money on your backs without doing a damn thing. That is what our economics is based on. And thus, the title of the blog of the week, my dear friends, the foundation of America's economic system is now an inhumane fraud. And I mean that. Shout it off the tops of every mountain. Our economic system is an inhumane fraud. That is the reason why the results are exactly what they are. you get the semblance of people living well, but the vast majority of the people, 80% of Americans right now, are one paycheck away from being solvent. So folks, let's get it right. Here we go. The titans of commerce have made capitalism an ideology instead of a tool. As such, its inhumanity and barbaric intrinsic nature are on full display for those who choose to see it. Again, notice what I said. For those who choose to see it. You will have many people going around there singing the praises of capitalism, singing the praises of how great this society is, how we've created so much with this society, my dear friends. All right? You're going to hear people saying those things, and you're going to have a lot of people amassing a lot. Hell, with Willie's computer software company, I've amassed quite a bit. Of course, it's all gone now because this is what I've been doing for the last 6 years. But let me tell you, folks, let me tell you, adherence to this economic system requires an uncanny ability to make excuses for the reality that very few Americans have partaken of the country's growing wealth. And that is what the truth is. Very few people, very few Americans have really partaken of the country's wealth. Many people point out that under our economic system, we built great skyscrapers, great monuments, and more. But one must ask, what percentage of the population can take advantage or partake of the spoils? Most buildings, structures, and the like are off limits to the vast majority of Americans. Yet, we praise their existence as some collective accomplishment. Oh, we're a capitalist country, and look at what we've built. Look at those great things we've created. Things that we don't stand a stone hell in being able to enjoy. Why? Because that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Most buildings, structures, and the like are off limits to the vast majority of Americans, yet we praise their existence as some collective accomplishment. They're not. Like slaves, one builds them from the benefit of a few, as others are generally allowed entry just to serve. You doubt me? Go to any skyscraper downtown that belongs to an oil company and try to get to the top so you can see the beautiful view of Houston. Oh, maybe some of them would have a sky tower. You can go up there and take a look and go. But let too many people go out there and try to do that and see how quickly it closes. Oh, it's private property, man. Go ahead anywhere. Any part of this great society that we built with our capitalist stuff. Go see, my dear friends, how much of it you can really partake of. See how much you can really do within it. See, let's try. Come on, folks. And by the way, I'm not only talking about problems now, okay? I have solutions. Not I. We have solutions. But first, we have to acknowledge that there is a problem. And when we acknowledge there is a problem, then we can find a solution, right? And that is what we got to do. So that is one of the things that I articulated in the blog at Daily Kos. And by the way, for those of you who know what Daily Kos is, the largest progressive site in the country, you should go to dailykos.com and take a look at the blog and look at the responses. We have some very intelligent viewers, some of them who gave charts and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to put charts in my article because the article was not made for the technocrat. The article was made for the average American citizen, a poor person, a progressive person, a poor Trumpist, whatever. That's who this is for. Okay? So, one must not forget the likes of the Toys R Us saga. Its demise can be directly attributed to vultures that shuffled a few papers to extract capital from the company in exchange for saddling it with debt. In the end, 30,000 employed American citizens were the waste, the byproduct of a few amassing an inordinate amount of wealth from the transaction. Humanity was irrelevant. Humanity was irrelevant. What was irrelevant? Humanity was irrelevant. In other words, some guy comes into a company, he buys up the company, it's on leverage. In other words, he says, okay, I'm going to go to Bank X, and Bank X is going to lend me X amount of $1 million based on the collateral on this company, the value, the asset value of this company. And after I get that money, it's ours, man. We can decide to invest that into making workers better, invest that into building up infrastructure, or take it all as fees. As an investment firm, that we are just interested in capital, that's what they did. And every day, Toys R Us did worse, worse, worse. And eventually, who became the spoils? Who became the waste? The employees, because again, they suck the blood out of the corporations, and that is what corporations do. They either produce with the asset, intellect, and product of others to make a few people who are doing not a damn thing wealthy, or they form yet other companies that just make money off of money. They do nothing for society. Let's remember those truities, those realities. So here it is the deal, folks. Elon Musk's recent tweet showed the ease with which the entire economic system can be compromised and or manipulated. In Musk's case, it is applied to Tesla stock, but it is clear the emperor has no clothes. It is clear this is something that can occur everywhere. Folks, if you're just joining us, please do remember to share this on your Facebook page, your Facebook wall, and elsewhere. And this is the tweet that Elon sent out. A very short tweet, but he covered his butt from the point of view of the SEC. He said, I'm considering taking Tesla private at $420 per share, funding secured. Oh, really? Now, Elon Musk's tweet and the resulting financial results should dispel any notion that the stock market is anything but a legalized gambling platform. Nothing changed at the company to justify the change in the value of the stock, assuming it was based on anything other than a whim. Yet, a tweet meant a lot of lost wealth for many, even as it made a lot for others. That is the definition of gambling: losing or winning money, cash, without producing anything. That is what gambling is all about. Now, many vultures shorted Tesla stock. Elon Musk's single tweet cost them $1.3 billion with a B in just a few hours. These guys produce nothing while they make millions on the service and innovation of others. Elon Musk turned the table on them yesterday last week as he pulled the rug from under them. Many think it is a bluff, but if it is not, the vultures would have justifiably lost their shirt as the price of the stock approaches the supposed strike value, the purchase price, to take Tesla private. Kudos for him on that one particular thing to screw the shorts. I was so happy when I saw that. As soon as I saw that tweet, I'm like, ha, ha, ha. The shorts are going to be running for cover. And so did they do. Run for cover. They had to sell their positions really quickly and take some humongous losses as the price of the stock rose. So, Tesla has the type of problems any innovative cutting-edge company has, and as such, should not be judged on a quarter-by-quarter basis, of course. Don't tell that to the titans of finance who scrutinize the company ad nauseum. When companies enter a stage where the stock price may fall because of market forces or investor short-sightedness, financial vultures enter and short the stock. Shorting a stock is an evil technique to make a profit when a stock falls in price. Okay? Most financial companies make money not by investing in companies. Hear me again. Most financial companies make money not by investing in companies for the sole purpose of making money from the success of their products and services, but by merely moving paper and money around. Their investments produce nothing useful for society. They generate money off of the backs of others that have formed companies, others who have created products and services. I fail to see how this is substantially different from welfare recipients. Again, I fail to see how this is different from welfare recipients. Maybe welfare recipients should put on suits and ties as they use the system to get something for nothing. Oops! Corporate welfare recipients already do that, and it works. Working class welfare recipients, are you listening? Put on a suit and a tie as you go get your food stamps and those things, man, because you know what? Those corporate folks who make money from doing absolutely nothing, they wear ties and suits. They're no different than that welfare person who can't make ends meet, that's not producing anything at this time. The only difference is that their full-time job is to produce nothing. Again, folks, we first, and I'm going to continue with the blog of the week, but I have to go into one of my soliloquies here. Here's the deal, and this is very important. We have to stop looking at middle management. We have to stop looking at the people who move capital. We have to stop looking at executives as people that we deserve to honor and make a whole lot more money than we do. In fact, they should be on par, to put it bluntly. But we have to stop We have to change the paradigm, but the paradigm can only change if we can accept our worth, if we can believe in ourselves, if we can see, wait a minute, my intellect created the transistor. How comes I am not benefiting from the spoils years after years of that transistor? My intellect was able to produce that, figure out how to purify water. How comes I'm not making the monies off of that? My intellect created that car, that part for that engine. How comes it is the stockbroker and the people who invest in Ford and Chrysler and all these guys that get the spoils? The economic system is a fraud. It is a fraud. Those who create, those who make. I tell you where it's not a fraud. Free enterprise is not a fraud. Free enterprise. You work with your hands. You're a baker. You're a candlestick maker. You're a software developer. You are doing something that creates value. People, when I developed software, every oil company in this darn country purchased my software. Something created. The books, the manuals, everything created by yours truly. That is not a bragging thing. That is saying the monies that I got, I earned. The money a stockbroker gets is on your back. And I'm not talking on the back of necessarily all these other people in the company. I'm talking about on your back. The person who is baking in the bakery. The person who are doing all these things that make Exxon work, that makes Shell work, that make Texaco and all these other things work. You are the guys producing, the guys in the refineries. You are the guys that put your body at risk. But then they say the reason capitalism is there is because these people are putting their capital at risk. And that is the reason we tax them less, because they're putting their capital at risk. Well, my God, you're putting your life at risk when you work at an oil plant. But you don't make what the managers make who are outside of the danger zone. You don't make what the stockbroker is making, who buys a whole bunch of your stock. Their limbs are not on the line. It's a paradigm shift in thinking. We first have to accept what we're worth. We first have to accept that we're all valuable. And I'm not talking about just those that went to college, those that went to UT, my college, those that went to Harvard. Those are not the only valuable people around. You are. Everybody that makes this economy drive. I learned that the hard way. You know, when I got out of college and I was working with all these big corporations, I thought I was big stuff. Then I formed my own company. I thought I was bigger stuff because I beat the corporation at its game. I formed my own thing and it was great. But then I started to get something known as a conscience. I started to read a whole lot. And in finding out, oh my God, the system is a fraud. When you understand the inner working of what we've got, it is a fraud. And it is our job to educate all our brothers and sisters, not only in the movement, but throughout the system. The system is a fraud. And we are worthy. We are worthy, and we should not be looking up to executives. We should not be looking up to managers. We should not be looking up to them. We should be cross-looking at each other as all being valuable for the entire ecosystem, of society. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share. Folks, it is so important that we understand these issues. It is so important. Continuing with the blog of the week. So, most financial companies, as I read that paragraph already. To be clear, most citizens on welfare are there because we do not have an economic system that rewards the real value of work. We reward capital more so than human labor. In other words, those with capital profit more than those who actually do the job to maintain that capital. But our indoctrination has taught us that those with capital are more valuable to society. Hell no. If I have money, I am not worth more than my garbage man picking up the garbage who's living hands to mouth. No way. But our indoctrination has taught us that those with capital are more valuable to society. But a farmer on a deserted island alongside a stockbroker, put a farmer along on a deserted island with a stockbroker. If each is left to their own devices, who do you think would survive? Who? Who is more valuable then? The farmer would definitely survive. He will continue the species. So who is more valuable? The stockbroker or the farmer? And I use those two examples because the farmers have been really getting hit very hard, and somehow they continue to vote against their own interests, even though society has told them that they're the scourge of the earth. They only go to them when they want their vote on social issues, but they tell them when we are given stipends to farmers, it's not the farmers who get most of it. It's the agribusiness, the big corporations. Again, what word are we talking about again? Corporations. Folks, my dear brothers and sisters, share the word. Whether you're sharing the video, whether you're sharing the audio, the MP3, whether you're sharing it on Blog Talk Radio, Coffee Party, Daily Coast, or wherever, folks, these are important words. We first have to accept our worth. That's the first thing we got to do. We got to know we're worthy. We got to do that first. We have to know that we are worthy. We have to also learn to lose respect. And that's exactly what I'm saying. We have to learn to lose respect for the titans of finance. We have to learn to lose respect for those who think they're better, the wealthy. We have to learn to lose respect for them all. And what do I mean by lose respect? I'm not talking about going ahead and I'm talking about put that respect into you. You have to realize that it is you who make this country work. You have to realize that that is how things work in the country, not the other way around. Because until we do that, they play on us. And don't even get me into the issues that they bring up. They're the ones who cause the racial issues. They're the ones who cause the sexist, misogynistic issues. Because as we concentrate on those petty craps, they rob us blind. They keep the society going into the direction that it is. Folks, we're going to be talking about this stuff every day because we get new viewers every day. We get new people every day. So let me go ahead and conclude the blog and with the last few paragraphs. It says, to be clear, most citizens on welfare are there because we do not have an economic system that rewards the real work, the real value of work. We reward capital more so than human labor. In other words, those with capital profit more than those who actually do the job to maintain that capital. But our indoctrination has taught us that those with capital are more valuable. Until we get that out of our minds, until we realize that those with capitals gained it on our backs. It's not that they are more worthy, but they were more willing to do what it took to make that on our backs. It is said that capitalism affords the efficient allocation of resources. That's the definition of capitalism. The efficient allocation of resources. It sounds great, right? Oh my God. If you don't have capitalism, our resources are not allocated right, and we get shortages and we got oversupplies and shortage. Bull. I took economics. I know economics very well. And like I told most people, economics is not very, 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 very difficult. I see I got a caller on the line, and I'm going to come to the caller in a little bit. I'm almost done with the blog of the week, my dear brothers and sisters. Economics is not difficult, folks. Economics is very simple. The difficulty in economics are the structures that we create in order to be thieves. The structures that we create in order to rob you. The structures that we create in order to pilfer you. That is what makes economics complex. Don't ever be fooled. Keynesian economics is not at all that difficult. At all that difficult. Not at all. Okay, continuing to end. For the economic system in the aggregate, it has allocated them the reality is that capitalism has failed to do that, and instead allocated resources to the least deserving. For the economic system in the aggregate, it has allocated them stupidly. Why are we burning fossil fuels when the technology exists to go green en masse? Why are the most valuable workers who produce paid less than paper pushers? One could go on and on and on and on and on. Only when Americans understand the corrosive nature of our economy will they force a change. Only, and I say only, when they realize that the economic system isn't divine but human-made, will they engage to change the parameters and fix it in a manner that gives all equal access to success. I see a caller on, but I don't see that you press the one to raise your hand to speak. If you want to speak, please touch the number 1. I notice it's a Skype call, so I don't know if you can do that or not. So if I don't see that button pressed in a few seconds, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and bring you on. And if you don't want to speak, you can just tell me that you were just listening to the show. Okay, I'm coming in. I think this is a Skype caller. Come on in, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, sir. I was listening to your, your discussion.
Yes.
And it's a good one. But my perspective is slightly different.
Sure. Go ahead, my friend.
Quite a bit different.
Go ahead.
I think it would be better if people learn how to play the game instead of trying to change it. Now, if they can change it, fine, but I doubt it. And the example that you just used, if you're on a deserted desert island and you have a farmer and a stockbroker, I think you said?
Yes. I did.
Yeah, but see... I'm sorry, what?
Yes, you're correct, my friend.
Yeah, the only thing with that is we're not on a desert island.
You're absolutely
right.
right.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But that's not the real world. So I agree. There are a lot of problems with the system, no doubt. Take housing, for example. I think there's a big scam. The only good thing about real estate is the fact that people get a home. There's so much corruption in the real estate industry. And I want to reference the stock market again. The stock market, you're right. There's a lot of corruption there. It is gambling. But the only saving grace with respect to the stock market is the fact that there is some legitimate business taking place. But sure, manipulators have learned how to shift paper around and shave off a profit, and I think that's abominable. But how do you stop that? People who have money are always going to be respected.
I am so happy that you said that, sir.
Yeah, excuse me?
I am so happy that you said that, because first of all, there's absolutely nothing that you've said that I can legitimately dispute. Absolutely nothing that you said I can dispute. There's one thing that, because you made a caveat in there that was very important, and I want to commend you on that caveat that you made. You said, what we should be doing is teaching people how to play the system, how to play the game. You're absolutely correct. I believe I did that for several years myself, and I'm not happy about it, or I'm not proud about it, but that's what I did. There was a time that I made quite a bit of money in the stock market. Now, the other thing that you said, which I think is what made me so commendable to you, is if you could change it, then it would be good for it to change. So I think you're given the options there, and I commend you for that, because a lot of capitalists don't do that. You're saying, yeah, the system is corrupt. Why not, since we don't think it's going to go anywhere, why not teach people how to play the system? But if you can change it, change it. My thing is the following. The system is corrupt, as you said. And yes, we want to have people play the system. That is why my corporate brothers and sisters, I still love them. What I tell them is, hey, you go out there and work for the corporation, but remember to fund what is going to ultimately end the structure. And as long as you're doing that, you have the faith from this kind of progressive movement. The thing about it, my friend, is this. If everybody learned to play the game, capitalism falls on its face. And you know that as well as I do. So the thing about it is we get selectivity here. We're the people who may hear your voice, an intelligent voice, who knows how to do the system. They would be okay. But that still leaves all our brothers and sisters in Appalachia, in the ghettos and the barrios, who will never hear your voice, but simply work in a system that necessitates their condition. And what I'm saying is, you're right. For in the short term, for those people like yourself, I would tell you, go out there and teach as many of us as we can to go ahead and play in the system. But remember to give back to that which is going to end that system. My friend, and you say, and then I'll run to another call. Talk to me, my friend.
Well, I think you seem awfully altruistic. And,
yes, I am.
And that can be a good thing.
Yes.
Philanthropic. But
yes.
see, this is a there are problems with the world, and
Yes.
I won't get too philosophical, but there are problems with the world. So the point is, everybody is not going to win.
Right.
I know you've competed in contests, and you're probably very competitive, where you won, and the other people that were competing against you didn't win.
Right.
Well, that's a metaphor for real life.
Yes.
Some people aren't going to make it in life
I agree.
for various reasons. Some countries aren't going to make it in life for various and sundry reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the thing is, yes, I think help as many people as can be helped and who want to be helped.
Right.
Very operative phrase there.
I understand exactly what you're saying. You're a smart man, like I said. But then again, as the congresswoman who sent me the thing today, she said, Egberto, you sure have a lot of interesting and smart followers. Sometimes I'd like to get a little less smart followers. Go ahead.
Okay, well, you can listen to someone else, but the thing is that there are going to be winners and losers
Right.
in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And my position is be a winner.
Right.
And, I would love to make the system perfect, but I don't know what I would have.
Let me tell you, I don't want to make it perfect, my friend. What I want to do is create the structures within, there are a lot of structures that we progressives, I'm talking about more progressive folk, believe in things like basic income, just so that we don't have, just so that we have a bottom. I am not looking for determined success or definite success, or I'm not looking to define outcomes at all. That is the difference between me and some of those on the left. I do believe that if somebody works harder, they should have more. I believe in all those things, but I also believe in a bottom. I also believe that everybody should have equal access to success. And my contention is right now our corporate structure is a place where people are chosen and people are not really necessarily going up there because of their what they are able to bring for a grand majority of the times. That's all I'm saying. So, look, I appreciate.
But let me say this. No, and I appreciate that. But look here, I think the best we can strive for, and then I'll listen to someone else. The
Yes,
best
sir.
we can strive for is equality of opportunity.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Wait a minute. Not equality of outcome.
Right.
But equality of opportunity.
Right.
All right, I'll listen.
It's interesting. It's interesting that we end on the same thing. You call it equal. I call it equal access to success. You called it equal opportunity. I look at those as the same things, right? If you have equal opportunity, then you will have equal access to success. You won't necessarily be successful, but you do have equal access to success. So
excellent point.
Yeah.
No, great point. I consider it basically synonymous.
Right. Thank you, my friend. And look, please keep listening. Please remember to share these programs because I love to have people like yourself as well calling in, and not only that, but commenting on these issues because, sir, it is important that the masses know that there are folks like yourself out there who understand the plight and are not just trying to take the spoils for themselves. So thank you so kindly for calling, sir.
Sure, you're welcome.
Okay, let's go to line 570, I believe it is. 570, come on in, my friend.
Hello, is that me?
Yes, that's you.
Oh, hi. All right, so I've been listening in every now and then to your show for a while now.
Yes, sir.
I probably don't agree with you on anything.
But, we have a lot of conservative listeners, friends.
Yeah, I try to get as much information from one place or another as I can possibly get. However, I'm trying to understand this philosophy you have going on, or if you have roots, or if you have some kind of, if this is rooted in some other ideology, where it's you summarized it pretty well with the farmer and a stockbroker on an island,
right,
that the other caller pointed out. But are you not acknowledging that? Well, I guess it'd be easier to use the oil worker analogy, but that there are people above the oil workers that, yes, they're not in there doing the dirty work, and yes, it's not as dangerous, but they are providing a service, and they are I'm sure you know what I mean.
Yes, and if you give me a chance, I think I understand what you're saying, and tell me if I read you right. In other words, you have that person who sits down in a room that's going to decide how they're going to allocate. In other words, the refinery makes X amount of dollars, and they're going to allocate how to spread that money around. That person is likely making more than every single refinery worker right now, and that person is not. And that, in a capitalist society, that's what happens today. And what I'm saying is, if capitalism is really the efficient allocation of resources, it is not efficient to have that one person who absolutely shares nothing with the risks and so forth that oil worker makes, making those orders of magnitude more than that oil worker. It is just simply unfair. And to put it one step above that, that person makes a lot of money, but that investment firm who owns a whole lot of, let's use Exxon as an example, who owns all those Exxon stocks, they have nothing at risk other than their capital, while those guys at the refinery risking their arms and legs and their being.
Those people that are risking their arms and legs, they're being paid by that man's capital.
Yes, it is by that man's capital. Guess what? Again, that man,
and they might not have a job if it was not for
you are so right, and that guy would not have the capital without somebody to work it. So I mean, it's what I'm trying to say is that I'm not trying to completely dog the person with capital at all. In fact, I have capital, right? So I mean, my thing is the equitable distribution of resources. Capitalism was defined as the efficient allocation of resources. My contention is that they are not efficiently allocated. They are unfairly allocated. In fact, they're immorally allocated. So my thing is, you ask what kind of a system is there to mitigate that. The truth of the matter is, right now, I am not smart enough, and I can fairly admit to that. I am not smart enough to know all the intricacies of how we go from here to there. I have an interim solution, however, and that's called redistribution. We know that redistribution worked in the 70s. How do we know that? We didn't have the income and wealth disparity that we had because we had certain types of caps. We have to do those things until we can create, I'm an engineer by training, a mechanical engineer, and we have these things known as steady state flow or steady, where a system reaches steady state, which means there's a constant going in and things are permeated throughout the factory or whatever in a smooth way, and we get the exit. And that process is maintained indefinitely. As long as it's fed, it is maintained indefinitely. Right now, we have a process that doesn't work that way. As we feed into that process, we channel most of all the benefits, all the goods to one side, and the rest to the very spoils to the few. And let me tell you what that generates, my friend. And it goes as follows. If the economy is growing at 2.5%, and I'm just using that as an average, it's probably going to be 2.5 to 3% this year in the aggregate. But if the wealthy persons in the aggregate are growing at 7 to 10%, the economy is fixed. Don't let anybody else fool you. The economy, the size of the economy, and the growth of the economy is fixed. So therefore, if the total economy is growing at 2.5% and the economy of the wealthy is growing at 7 to 15%, that growth is coming from the totality, which means everybody else get less. You can say, oh, well, if we add foreign countries, we could say that other people make some of that growth from the foreign countries. I'm saying let's correct for that. And what you find is still our system is extractive in nature, and by design, it means that we continuously take a whole lot for a few, and progressively the rest gets less. And it is shown in the reality.
What you're saying here, it seems to ultimately come down to some subjective viewpoints. So the idea here is that, I'm not by any means, I am not dishing,
No, please, sir. That's the nice thing about this show. We don't judge.
It would be easier. Yeah, it would be okay. So it is easier for a CEO of some kind of farming conglomerate to go into the field and learn how to pick fruit than it is for somebody who's picking fruit to go up to be a CEO that will basically run the entire operation.
I beg to differ.
Organized, make sure that everything is dealt with.
I'm so happy you said that, sir.
There are people.
I am so happy.
There are people who are going to be paid more, and there are people who are going to be paid less. And yes, the person at the bottom rung.
I am so happy that you said that, because it is so happy that you said that. I am so happy that you said that. Under your scenario, the highest paid people in this country should be engineers and doctors. Okay? Under your scenario, the highest paid people, there are very few people I can bring out of the farm and show them how to program a computer. There are very few people I can bring out of the farm to show them F is equal to MA and go ahead and teach them about derivatives and teach them about integrals and all these differential equations.
Well, we don't know this.
What I'm saying, here's what I'm saying. When I went to college and had to learn all these high-level formulas, there is a certain amount of time that it takes to absorb all this knowledge. So you are right. What I'm saying is a business degree, when you talk about basic arithmetic, everybody does basic arithmetic. A CEO is algorithmic and basic arithmetic. And not only that, the CEO isn't the person that is doing the calculations for these decisions. The interesting thing is when we're going ahead and doing amortizations and all of that requires some level of integration or whatever, it isn't the CEO that necessarily knows these things. So what I'm trying to tell you is if we were telling the truth about the efficient allocation of resources, first of all, CEOs would be some of the least paid people. Because if you want to look at who really had to acquire a whole lot of knowledge to accomplish the things that they have, it would be engineers and doctors. So, I mean, the truth of the matter is, let's be frank. Unless we decide that we're going to pay engineers and doctors more than anybody else,
I think that you have this idea that there's no use, or well, not use, but there's no strategy or intelligence that is required to do the things the CEO does in comparison to something that like an engineer or doctor.
That is what I'm saying. Actually, you're correct. You're correct. Let me give it. You're correct, sir. You're correct. Yeah. In other words, when I designed a piece of software that goes into an interrupt structure within something that does a whole lot of magic, that's going to make this company quite a few $1 million. And then a CEO comes and he allocates resources as far as, okay, we're going to build that here and build that there. The level of intelligence is not comparable at all. So I mean, I'm sorry, not the level of intelligence. I don't mean the level of. I spoke wrong. I spoke wrong.
That's pretty.
I spoke wrong, sir. I spoke wrong.
Do you believe that? But do you believe that ultimately? So let's say the CEO of this company, he puts down his initial capital. You know, he goes to Aunt Susie, Uncle Joe, whatever, and he gets his money together and he sets up his business. Of course, we're talking on a much bigger scale.
Sure.
But he has the engineers and the doctors and whatever. Well, we'll say the engineers that are coming in there and telling him how to put these things together.
Right.
At the end of the day, those engineers don't have a job unless that person puts down the initial capital.
And at the end of the day, that person can't.
It's unfair for the person who started the company, or at least the person who inherits it through whatever means that occurs, whether they vote on it through stocks or stockholders or whatever. It is not fair for that person to be receiving more money, even though, yes, he is not the one. I mean, you seem to be promoting the common or the collective.
Yes, I am.
Or
You're correct.
Ownership of the means of production.
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes, okay. So that seems to be.
But let me tell you why.
To be the ideology.
Can I tell you why, sir?
That I kind of thought was coming here.
Can I tell you why, sir? Please, let me tell you why. Because
sure.
I am so glad that you saw that. I mean, I don't necessarily come out and say those things in that regards because it complicates the argument.
I kind of figured it out.
Yeah, it complicates the argument for some people.
Crux.
Yeah, and let me tell you why it complicates the argument for some people, right? Because when we talk about a collective, right, we're talking about rewarding what you put in. When we talk about capitalism as far as somebody just putting in some capital that they may have ill-gotten, at that point, you know what? And let me give an example. Let's look at the person who owns the biggest ranch in Texas, okay? They have a lot of capital and they were able to invest in a whole lot of oil companies and all these other guys. But though that capital that they got was on the backs, or rather it was stolen property from somewhere else. And the Indians and the natives that were on those lands that were stolen from, they don't benefit from any of the oil.
Well, they stole land. Well, it's not as if the Native Americans didn't steal. Well,
I am not saying that. I get my argument, sir. You're right, my brother. But get the argument I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is, a lot of people want to give that having capital has so much importance. And what I'm trying to say is having capital have less importance than the person who does a job to produce or improve on that capital. That's all I'm saying. And when we talk about the collective, I'm not talking the collective in the form that a lot of folks are going to get scared of. I'm talking about the collective in that if we produce, in other words, if we have a company, right, and that company makes a whole lot of money, then the people should take advantage. All the people should make the spoils from what they created. Otherwise, the definition for that is called excess labor. And all the wealth
Do you have an example? Do you have an example
Yes, I do.
Of a company or of a company that would operate along the same lines you're saying, and how that would? Because I'm open,
yes, I do. Yes, I do, sir. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. If you let me talk, I'll tell you. There is a and I don't have the company right now, but it's not only a company. I think it's an entire city in Portugal, where that is exactly how they operate. It's a complete collective, and they have a board of directors and all of that, and they create a company. They make products. It is it's a financially secure company. And let me get the company and put it in the notes for you. But whether the question is whether that possibility exists, and I'm saying the possibility not only exists, but ultimately, if we are to be a fair country, that is sort of what we're going to have to look at, because otherwise, capitalism is not the efficient allocation of resources. You know, we went over time because I had two great callers. You, sir, as a conservative caller, I really appreciate you calling in. I would love for you to continue to call in and present your ideas, because you know what? You made me think. You know that that is so important.
Sure, I would definitely love to call in again. I got caught a little off guard. I wasn't as prepared as I
oh, that's all right, man.
But,
let me tell you, we're family here, okay? And the idea here is this: what I want to create here, what I really want to create as we move on, is a place where everybody can come and say their piece. And if you notice, I try not to interrupt. Every now and then I kind of interrupted because we have a slight delay here, so I apologize for that. But the idea here is we want to create this real debate, not what you see on TV, but stuff where I am pretty sure, sir, that in the long run, you can convince me that some of my ideas need to be moderated, and I can convince you of the same. And I am not antiseptic to that at all. But what I want is I want a system that works for everybody. And I'm pretty sure if you felt what I'm talking about would work better than what you believe in right now, you would not be anathema to that. Am I correct?
If I can see something that works better than another system, then as a pragmatist, you know.
And I think
there's no argument.
And I think most people are that way. I honestly think most, and that is my job, right? If I'm going to have all these kind of things that I want to say, I better as hell have a way to say, hey, and it works this way here. So look, I really appreciate both your call and the other caller that called in. I hope you listen to the show. I hope you share the show, because this is how we're going to make change in the country, my brother. All right?
All right, thank you.
You have a wonderful day. Folks, we went over and I didn't even get to give my ask. So anyhow, here's the deal, folks. This is a progressive show, and as you can see, what we do is we try to bring in everybody, whether you're from the left or the right, the middle, anarchists or whatever. We want to hear from you. But more importantly, we ask you to support this show. We ask you to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. patreon.com/politicsdoneright. I don't care if you're left, right, or whatever, because you know what? That is how we are going to make change. But we have to first understand what the problem is. My job, who decided to go full-time political activism, is to help do just that. There's quite a bit that I know about how things work. And as you can see in speaking to some of our audience, and we have a very smart audience, you included, we are able to discuss issues and sometimes moderate ideas, and not only that, make folks think, make me explain better, make you explain better. We do that by continuing to have programs like this, not the crazy things we see on the mainstream media. So please go ahead. If you believe in this type of independent progressive media. Please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. Again, that is patreon.com/politics done right. Where we went over today, but it was some great discussion. And you know, sometimes I get long-winded in the beginning. I'm going to have to try to mitigate that some, but you know, you try to put all that stuff in 1 hour. Sometimes you fail. We are not all perfect. So what I want to tell you is thank you so kindly for having been a listener to Politics Done Right. Please share everything that you've seen here. Go ahead and subscribe to the page that is at Facebook.com/Politics Done Right. Please like the page. Also, please like the Twitter, Egberto Willies. Egberto Willies is a Twitter that I'd like you to follow. And please support us at Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. That is Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I'm going to finish it. I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.